Six familiar badges are quietly unraveling while most drivers are still chasing discounts. The collapse of these car brands is happening in plain sight. Dealers are quietly clearing lots, lineups are shrinking, and owners wake up to bargain basement resale values. One brand is even posting strong sales numbers while its foundation crumbles. What critical warning signs are insiders hiding, and how can you spot the next casualty before your wallet pays the price? Let's start with the luxury brand that promised everything but failed the one test it could not afford to lose. Genesis launched in 2015 with a clear ambition to take on the world's luxury giants. On paper, it delivered strong value, sharp design, and a promise to match BMW, Mercedes, and Lexus. In 2024, Genesis sold about 75,000 vehicles in the United States, a fraction of BMW's 371,000 or Lexus's 346,000. For all its awards and glowing reviews, the brand still faces a stubborn perception problem. Many buyers see Genesis as a Hyundai dressed up, not a badge with true luxury cachet. That is a tough barrier for any upstart, and especially damaging when it comes to resale value and owner confidence. The challenges go deeper than image. In 2022, Genesis owners faced a major recall for faulty fuel pumps that could cause engines to stall. In 2023, the new GV60 and electrified G80 electric vehicles were swept into another recall for sudden power loss, forcing software updates and hardware fixes. The electrified G80, once a hopeful flagship, faded from the lineup as Genesis shifted focus to SUVs, but even the GV60's momentum has cooled. These reliability scares hit hardest for a brand still fighting to prove itself against established luxury names. On top of that, tariffs on imported components have pushed costs higher, especially for models not built in the United States. For buyers, this means Genesis vehicles are more expensive upfront and face increased risk on resale. Dealers know it. Auction data shows that when brand confidence wavers, values drop faster than any spreadsheet can predict. Genesis set out to challenge the status quo, but in luxury, image and trust are everything. When those are shaky, even a great car can become a risky bet. Jaguar once stood for British luxury and high-performance style, but by 2025, the showroom tells a different story. Over the past 3 years, Jaguar has discontinued nearly everything that built its reputation. The XE and XF sedans, the flagship XJ, the F-Type sports car, the I-Pace electric crossover, and the E-Pace SUV. That leaves the F-Pace as the brand's only mainstream model, and even that is winding down as production halts across Europe and North America. In April 2025, Jaguar's European sales dropped by over 97%, with just 49 cars sold that month compared to nearly 2,000 a year earlier. Most dealers have gone weeks or months without a single new Jaguar to deliver. The retreat goes deeper than empty showrooms. In late 2024, Jaguar stripped away its most recognizable symbol, the leaping cat, replacing it with a minimalist wordmark and a promise of future luxury. The backlash was immediate. Critics and longtime owners argued that the brand had erased decades of identity in a single move, leaving little for loyalists or new buyers to connect with. Jaguar's management calls this a reset ahead of a 2026 relaunch as an all-electric marque, but the gap is already taking its toll. With no fresh models and no clear timeline for replacements, confidence has evaporated. Independent reliability data from RepairPal rates Jaguar at 2.5 out of 5, near the bottom among luxury brands. Resale values are sinking as buyers question whether the brand will even exist in a few years. For now, Jaguar isn't just short on cars, it is running on empty when it comes to trust and identity. Mitsubishi once filled American roads with models like the Eclipse, Galant, and Montero, reaching nearly 345,000 US sales in 2002. That era is long gone. By 2024, Mitsubishi's annual sales in the US have slipped below 90,000, with only the Outlander, Outlander Sport, and Eclipse Cross holding space on dealer lots. The story behind this decline is a lesson in how trust, once lost, is almost impossible to regain. In 2000, Mitsubishi admitted to hiding safety defects for years, an admission that triggered massive recalls and criminal investigations in Japan. Just as the brand tried to recover, another blow landed in 2016. Mitsubishi confessed to falsifying fuel economy data for more than 600,000 vehicles, a scandal that wiped out market value and consumer confidence. Survival came only when Nissan stepped in, acquiring a controlling stake and folding Mitsubishi into a larger alliance. Today, the brand's US presence is a shadow of its former self, kept afloat by corporate lifelines rather than customer loyalty. Infinity's rise and fall is written across its showrooms. United States sales peaked at 153,000 in 2017, but by 2024 that number had plunged to just 58,000. The real story plays out where the brand meets buyers. Once, Infinity stood apart with its own premium dealerships and a promise of Japanese luxury. Now most Infinity stores have shuttered or been absorbed into Nissan showrooms, erasing the boundary between mass market and luxury. Customers shopping for a QX60 or QX80 now walk past Altimas and Rogues, and the sense of exclusivity that once defined Infinity has faded. The lineup itself is shrinking fast. Sedans like the Q50 and crossovers such as the QX50 and QX55 never discontinued, leaving only 2 core models. Meanwhile, the brand's reputation for smooth performance has been dragged down by years of complaints about CVT transmissions and a cluster of recalls for power loss, airbags, and braking systems. Dealers and leasing companies have responded by slashing residual values, making it harder to justify a new Infinity lease or purchase. As the luxury identity dissolves, so does owner confidence, leaving resale values to tumble and the brand's future in question. Chrysler once filled American streets with everything from the 300 sedan to a fleet of minivans, peaking at over 600,000 United States sales in the mid-2000s. Fast forward to 2024, and that number has shrunk to around 120,000, a loss of nearly 4 out of every 5 buyers. The Chrysler 300, a nameplate that carried the brand for years, ended production after 2023. That leaves the Pacifica minivan as Chrysler's only real consumer offering, and even those sales slipped by about 11% in 2024. The much hyped Airflow electric vehicle, once promised as Chrysler's electric revival, was quietly dropped mid-development. Stellantis, Chrysler's parent company, now runs 14 brands and has made it clear each must earn its place or risk being cut. As standalone Chrysler stores disappear, owners face thinning service networks and fewer dedicated parts channels. For many, the warning is not a press release, it's a shrinking lineup and a support system that gets weaker by the month. Nissan's numbers still look impressive at first glance. In 2024, the company moved over 1.2 million vehicles in the US and more than 3 million worldwide. But behind the volume, the foundation is far less certain. Global sales have tumbled from nearly 5.8 million in 2017 to just over 3.4 million, reflecting a loss of scale that once made Nissan a global powerhouse. The company spent years in the red, racking up over $10 billion in net losses between 2019 and 2021. To stem the bleeding, Nissan closed factories, trimmed its workforce by thousands, and exited entire markets. Even as the showrooms stay busy, the product pipeline is shrinking, the Maxima is gone, and the Altima's days are numbered in the US. Nissan's much-hyped Ariya electric vehicle faced delays and scaled back production, while other US electric vehicle projects have quietly slipped further down the calendar. Plans for new electric models at the Canton, Mississippi plant are on hold as the company rethinks its strategy. Meanwhile, the fallout from the Carlos Ghosn scandal still hangs over the brand, and recent attempts to forge a deeper partnership with Honda ended in rejection. Nissan's sales charts may look strong, but the company is walking a financial tightrope with little room for error if the market turns or the next round of electric vehicles stumble. Dealer networks act as an early warning system long before any brand crisis makes headlines. When confidence slips, the first move is not a press release, it is a quiet reduction in new car orders. Multi-brand dealer groups track auction prices, lease returns, and days supply with relentless focus. If they see values dipping or inventory stacking up, they slash future orders and move aging stock through auctions, often at a loss. This behind-the-scenes retreat pushes extra cars into the used market, driving prices down even further. For owners, the effects are immediate. A car that should have lost 30% of its value after 2 years might shed 40% or more if the brand is on shaky ground. That extra 10 to 15% drop is not about the vehicle's quality, it is about the market's faith in the company's future. Meanwhile, aggressive discounts and generous lease deals can lure buyers in, but those short-term bargains often often mask a long-term risk. Familiar badges and big rebates create a sense of safety, but the real cost lands when owners discover their car's equity has vanished almost overnight. In this environment, the numbers on a spreadsheet can turn personal as buyers find themselves underwater on loans or facing trade-in offers thousands below expectation. Brand decline doesn't start with headlines, it starts with shrinking choices and fading trust. Today, even strong sales can hide weak foundations. For buyers, the real risk is not just what is on the lot, it is what is left when confidence disappears. What is your move if your badge is next?